Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of All Around Hockey, the YouTube channel for the All Around Hockey fan. So today we're continuing on with our series, looking at all 32 NHL teams, previewing the rosters for the upcoming season, looking at Hockey Reference to see their numbers from last season, see if they can improve on those numbers, and also using Puck GM per Puckpedia to look at possible trades and moves that could still happen as this offseason starts to quiet down a little bit. We're going to kind of look and see what Puckpedia says in terms of their roster construction and what other moves could be made. In our next episode, we just went over the Colorado Avalanche, so our next episode is now on the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that's a lot in the news right now. Adam Fantilli's a contract that sounds like it's getting close to being signed, hasn't still been signed yet as of making of this video. And then Kirill Marchenko's a name that's a lot rumored to be on the move here soon, but still hasn't been traded yet. So there could be lots of moves we can make here in this episode. I think it's going to be a little bit of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So to start off, we look at the rosters they have right now. Kirill Marchenko, like we said, is still on the team. They're in the first unit with Adam Fantilli. Fantilli's a restricted free agent, so they need to get that contract signed at 21 years old. He's right there with Bedard and Carlson on those deals, so probably looking around that type of range. Connor Garland, there's the second unit, as on the right winger of the first unit. Cole Sillinger, there's the third unit, starts the second unit, excuse me. He just signed his new contract extension, another 3-year deal. Charlie Coyle signed a contract extension with them this offseason at 6 years for $6 million. Valery Nichushkin, somebody they brought in from Colorado, kind of taking advantage of their cap situation. Dmitry Voronkov's another name that's been in the rumors recently the last couple offseason. He's still on the third unit there with Sean Monahan and Kent Johnson. Ryan Lomberg, somebody they brought in this offseason, a pretty decent depth signing. Luca DeBelbaluz, there's this fourth line center, and Matthew Oliver there is the fourth line right winger, and he's been there for a while. It's been pretty productive for them. Over on defense, a name that was really rumored to be on the move this offseason was Zach Werenski. Obviously, no trade has happened. He's got 2 more years left on his contract before he becomes an unrestricted free agent, and the rumors of him possibly wanting out of Columbus grew a little loud. Obviously, there was almost a trade to Dallas, but did not happen. As he vetoed it eventually. Dante Fabro there is on the first right side there, right unit there. Ivan Provorov and Denton Matichuk there is on the second unit. They got Christensen and Damian Severson there on the third unit. And then you got Miles Wood, Dayton Heinen, and Erica Branson there still on the team there on the bench in the press box, but could obviously be in the starting lineups. Jack Gray has kind of started to take over that number 1 goaltending role. We'll go over his numbers later in this video. He just signed his new contract at a 3-year deal for $5 million a season. And Elvis Merzlikins is still there. He's on the last year of his contract at $5.4 million. So you kind of look at that. Still a pretty decent tandem. Isaac Lundstrom there also starts the year on injured reserve. And so that could be another decent depth piece to add later in this offseason. So we're going to go over to Hockey Reference, check out what Columbus did last season. They ended with a record of 40, 30, and 12. 40 regulation wins, 30 regulation losses, and 12 overtime losses. 92 points, finished 5th in the Metropolitan Division, so not bad. Just missed out on a playoff spot. They replaced Dean Evason with Rick Bowness halfway through the season. And Bowness is now going to come back for another season there with Columbus. You look at the goals for, and goals against average, they kind of ended middle of the pack on both. 18th for goals for, 246 goals for, and then 251 goals against, and 16th out of 32 in the National Hockey League. So they ended right in middle pack and also kind of just missed the playoffs just by a little bit. We're going to head down here and check out the stats from last season. Zach Werenski had his big year winning the Norris Trophy finally. Well-deserved credit for him. He's been one of the top 5 defensemen in the league, but he ended up at 22 goals, 59 assists, 81 points. Just a fantastic season out of Zach, and you got to wonder if he's a potential captain. With all the rumors that have been going on, he's definitely somebody I think who could fit that C role now that Boone Jenner has left for Washington. Kirill Marchenko was second on the team of points with 27 goals, 40 assists. Adam Fantilli ended third on the points as he continues to grow in his production. 24 goals, 35 assists for 59 points. Charlie Coyle there with 20 goals and 38 assists. Pretty good production from a second, third line center. Boone Jenner, who we just mentioned, is left for the Washington Capitals. He's going to be gone. He was a longtime captain there in Columbus. Could that be a blow to their team? Sean Monahan was 6th on the team in points with 13 goals and 23 assists for 36 points. Cole Sillinger, 8 goals, 25 assists for 33 points. Not too bad for him. Probably looking for a little bit more production from him, though, as they had a lot of hope for him. Dmitry Voronkov is another name. 17 goals, 15 assists for 32 points. Obviously, we said his name's kind of been in the rumor mills recently, but still on the team right now. Mason Marchment left for the San Jose Sharks, but he was 9th on the team in points. And then Damian Severson rounds out the top 10 with 8 goals and 24 assists for 32 points. You also look at Ivan Provorov and Denton Mateychuk. Pretty good goal production from all three of those guys, along with Zach Werenski. So they got some pretty good production there from the back end, as Ivan Provorov had 9 goals and Denton Mateychuk ended with 13. Kind of go down here, scroll down, and let's look at their goaltending stats from last season. Elvis Merzlikins there. He had 29 game starts, 14 wins, 11 losses, ended with an .883 save percentage and a 3.40 goals against average, as he kind of lost that starter's role to Jack Graves, who had a huge year again, and that new contract extension at $5 million a year for 26 wins, 19 losses, had a .908 save percentage and 2.60 goals against average. So a heck of a season from Jack Graves, as he kind of gets that big payday now. Now here's the fun part that we're going to look at here. We're going to look at what they have in terms of cap space. As you can see, they have $13 million in cap space. So, we got to think, I don't know, Fantilli's probably taking the rest of that cap space with him. He's a restricted free agent. So we're going to go down here and sign him to his contract extension. The rumor has been around a $14 million for about 5-year contract. You saw Connor Bedard get about 5 times 15. Theo Carlson obviously got the big pay bump thanks to Philadelphia with a 5 times 18 that was eventually matched by Anaheim. And then obviously Macklin Celebrini just signed a 5-year deal at $18.8 million as well. So we're going to sign Fantilli to 5 times $14 million. That's the rumor to possibly be happening. He also might want around 15, but there's rumors that he could possibly be getting around 14 now, as it does sound like an extension is close to happening. You get your number one center locked up. And again, you kind of look at what's been going on recently. A recent trend in the National Hockey League that I've been kind of talking about in my latest videos has been these 5-year contracts given out to these 21 to 19-year-old players. A lot of guys getting their big paydays now and then end up getting possibly another big payday of down the road when they become an unrestricted free agent at the age of about 26, 27, even maybe 25 years old. Is this starting to become like an NBA almost? It's kind of some kind of trend that is kind of going towards 5 years, short-term contracts with high average annual value. I don't know. That's just kind of something I've been talking about in my latest videos. Let me know what you guys think. But as you can see now that we go up here, we're going to look at the cap space. They don't have much in terms of passing. It's just a little bit over the cap's floor now at $504,000. Not much over the cap space, but that would definitely be able to bring in Fantilli around that contract, and that's the rumored deal. But also the big rumor's been a trade in which Kirill Marchenko gets moved. And the team that's been linked to him the most has been the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to kind of look at what possibly could be happening in terms of a trade there. There was rumors that a trade was really close. It hasn't happened still as the recording of this video. Maybe it's happened now, but it has not happened as I'm recording the video right now. But we're going to kind of go over to Montreal. That's the team that's been most linked to Kirill Marchenko. They've been the hardest at it. And I kind of looked at his numbers compared to a Matthew Knies. That was the big rumor of a trade could possibly be happening with Montreal a couple of years ago. And there was a big package involved. And I think Kirill Marchenko's numbers, you kind of compare them to Knies, it kind of is the same there. And so we kind of look at it. We're going to head over to Montreal here. And I think the big name that was attached to it was Oliver Kapanen was attached to that trade, along with Bryce Pickford was another big name that was attached to that deal, along with some picks. And you look at Kirill Marchenko's numbers, you compare them to Knies, they're pretty exactly similar. So I definitely think that that's still something that could happen in terms of a move. Oliver Kapanen provides a really good young scoring winger. You can look at his numbers from last season. He had 82 games played, 22 goals, 15 assists. Really good production there from him. I definitely think that's somebody who uh, Columbus would definitely want. I think they want ready now players, and Oliver Kapanen fits that perfectly more than a lot of other players on the Montreal Canadiens do. And then you would add Bryce Pickford, who had a huge year in the WHL, a nice right-handed shooting young defenseman. Probably is going to start in the AHL, but maybe gets a chance at the NHL later on. He was a third round pick in 2025. He had 45 goals, 38 assists. Huge year in the WHL with the Medicine Hat Tigers. So definitely, I think that's somebody who they would require in that type of a deal. And then you're probably looking around a first round pick or first or second round pick. We'll go with the first round pick here. Maybe some people think it's an overpay, but also you kind of look at what was possibly going to happen with the Matthew Knies trade, and that was pretty much the same exact package that was offered in that deal. So I think that's a deal that could happen right now. And I would do that trade. And then also another move we could possibly be looking at, somebody who they might be looking to move. Obviously, you can see they have about $2 million in cap space now, so they've opened up some cap room. But another team that we're going to go to is the Detroit Red Wings here, and the possibility of a trade between these two teams. Somebody who's been linked to a possible trade has been Kent Johnson. He had a really struggling year last year. I don't think he's really found it there in Columbus. He played some center in college. He definitely probably transitioned to a center role, which the Detroit Red Wings need desperately. As you can see, 76 games played, 7 goals, 15 assists for 22 points last season. Not a very productive year for Kent Johnson. We're going to kind of go down here, and check out what he's done production-wise. Right here, as you can see, 24 goals, 33 assists. A pretty solid season the year before at age 22 season. He had 57 points. But that's really only been his first real great season. In 2022, he had 16 goals, 24 assists, was starting to produce, was starting to look promising. Then he had a little bit of injury riddled season in 2023. But he's definitely somebody who I think can transition over to center. The Red Wings desperately need centers. And I think you could get a couple of decent prospects in this type of a trade. And I don't think they would take a JT Compher for Kent Johnson. Because I think Kent Johnson has a little bit more trade value than that. It's not completely bottomed out. He's definitely only 23 years old, so there's definitely a chance you could possibly get something more from him. And I think you're probably looking around at Eddie Gimborg or Jesse Kiskinen in this type of a deal for a young, controllable right winger. I don't know if the Red Wings are willing to trade Gimborg yet or not. They just picked him in the second round, but I think a Jesse Kiskinen could definitely be somebody who could be on the move in this type of a deal. And then they have a lot of young defensemen coming up that are a little bit blocked by each other. And one of those names is Shea Buium, brother of Z Buium. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of defensemen that are blocked. I definitely think Columbus could bring him in and make him into a defenseman in a year or two. So I think that's a trade that could happen. You get a couple of decent prospects for Kent Johnson, who's been struggling this off season. And it opens up more for cap space. Before just a little bit over $4 million in cap space. I think that's good for you. I think in terms of this video, we're going to probably keep Dmitry Voronkov, not trade him. But you're probably looking around Oliver Kapanen possibly becoming that second line center. You can maybe move Coyle over to the wing and have Valeri Nichushkin there on the first unit with Connor Garland and Adam Fantilli. Nichushkin produced really well with McKinnon. Maybe he could do that kind of production with Fantilli. And then, as you can see, that leaves an opening on the team for this upcoming season. You still have Isaac Lundstrom who could come up off of injured reserve and become one of those areas you could fix. But I think a Luca Pinelli is somebody who was up for them a little bit last season, and he had a pretty productive season in the AHL. He had 46 points in 68 games played. Not too bad. Maybe he's somebody you give the call to. You're also looking at Jordan Dumas. That's another good, solid prospect. Luke Tuck is another prospect, obviously, the brother of Alex Tuck. He still had some production, not much production with the Laval Rockets last season, but, this is maybe somebody who's just waiting for his chance. Joshua Earnesty there. But I think you're looking at probably a competition between Dumas and, he had 18 points last season for Cleveland. Maybe another year down in the AHL, but you could maybe give Luca Pinelli that call up to play, at least while Isaac Lundstrom's healing from his injuries. And then maybe you could even have him There on this third unit. You could even have him play the wing, or you can move him over to center and let Sean Monahan play the wing. And, kind of look at this team in terms of what those trades would do. Obviously, the rumor of Kirill Marchenko being traded is not ideal, especially when they're trying to court Zach Werenski into staying for the long term. They have some contracts that aren't the prettiest, but also aren't the worst. You would get Fantilli locked up finally. Valery Antushkin had a really good year with Colorado, so maybe he could come in and provide that production that you're going to lose with probably trading Kirill Marchenko. And then Oliver Kapanen is a young prospect who had a really good year for them and definitely could end up being a really solid player. And also Bryce Pickford is somebody who, if they made this type of a trade, you could definitely be looking at him possibly making the call up later on in the season if his offense production numbers continue. You would bring in a Shea Buium and a Jesse Kiskinen. Maybe you can convince Detroit to give him Eddie Ginberg. That could possibly be another option. I think guys like Carter Bear and them are off limits in that Kent Johnson trade. But maybe Eddie Ginberg could be a trade piece that could be a decent piece for them as a winger for the future. So you kind of look at those moves. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below if you like those moves. If you don't, looking at the team as they're currently constructed, obviously I think the Marchenko trade is happening soon. They got to get Fantilli locked up now, and I think that's going to come soon. But you look at the team constructed as it was, they're competing in that division. Obviously, they got the defending champion, Carolina Hurricanes. Philadelphia Flyers had a good year. Pittsburgh had a playoff ride. Washington, I think, has improved pretty well this offseason. New Jersey, Islanders, Rangers, they're all kind of right there in the middle of the pack along with Columbus. If they have a new leadership, if Zach Werenski does end up becoming the captain, maybe that gives them a bump in the locker room. I'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think Jack Graves is your starting goaltender moving forward. So you got that figured out. Maybe with these moves, with these bigger moves, you can maybe get some other big-time production in, like an Oliver Kapanen and those type of moves. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you like these moves? Do you not like these moves? Love to hear from you guys. I've really been enjoying making these videos. Our next video is going to be on the Dallas Stars. So hope you guys tune in for that video. But for now, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to All Around Hockey, the YouTube channel for the All Around Hockey fan. Be on the lookout if a Kirill Marchenko trade does happen. If Adam Fantilli does get signed for another short that I'll make, as I've been making those short videos when the big announcements have happened. And Columbus definitely could be in those big moves here soon. So look forward to those as well. Like I said, like, comment, share, and subscribe to All Around Hockey, the YouTube channel for the All Around Hockey fan. And talk to you guys in the next video, okay?